This is the Jason Walker Show. Two-time National Sports Media Association Montana Sportscaster of the Year and three-time loser, the Jason Walker Show. The best local and statewide sports coverage, featuring the biggest guests from Montana.
Flint Rasmussen joining us here on the Jason Walker Show.
He's freaking exhausting, too. You used to dance a lot more. Yeah, I know, lady. I'm 51 years old now.
The NAI Hall of Famer Mike Van Diest joining us here, Jason Walker Show. And is it just a deal where quarterbacks have to be good golfers?
Well, that's all they have time for. They don't work out. They don't lift weights. They don't do anything else. They might as well go get on the golf course and at least have some fun.
And from across the country,
Doug Gottlieb, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show.
End of the day, remember, it's your show. It's got your name on it.
Howie Mandel, our guest here.
Jason Walker, deal or no deal?
The Jason Walker Show, broadcasting from the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Here's Jason Walker.
Happy Monday, the Jason Walker Show, Major Mortgage Man Cave, and the big weekend. It was fun. Got some of the smoke cleared out, which was good, because we weren't sure we were even going to get some high school cross-country, football, anything to put in over the weekend, but we were able to. So, Jason Walker Show, presented by Capital Collision Center. Montana law says it's your choice where you have your vehicle repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center. Coming up today, Jordan Hansen from the Missoulian, 406mtsports.com, will join us as we recap the weekend. Also, get your nominations in. Auto Contest Performance of the Week. I'm going to give you some that we've already gotten in. People that email. You can email jasonwalkersports@gmail.com. You can Facebook us, tweet us, whatever. So there you go. We're going to start today with our daily COVID update. Montana over the weekend saw 2 record days of cases. 130 new cases reported today. That brings us up to 10,429 total since March. 7876 recovered, 2393 active, and 160 total deaths. 108 currently in the hospital. 784 in Yellowstone County, 237 in Rosebud, 285 in Cascade, and more on Cascade County coming up in a second. 214 in the Flathead, 118 in Missoula County, 75 Deer Lodge, 74 Silverbow, 27 Lewis and Clark. Active cases, these are 109 in the Bighorn and 43 in Gallatin, 30 still up in Hill, 52 Glacier, and 111 in Roosevelt County. So let's go back to Cascade County. 285 active cases. Well, they have some issues in their high schools up there. We've seen Great Falls High be shut down a couple of different times for cleaning because of a couple of COVID issues. And now there's some sports affected with it. Great Falls Central, and I reached out to Coach Wes Ross, who did not want to, doesn't feel comfortable yet speaking about it, and rightfully so. We don't know all the details, but Great Falls Central has canceled its next 2 games, or postponed them because of coronavirus. So it's postponed the next 2 games. There was a confirmed case at the school. It was announced Friday. 8 Central students, mostly on the football team, are affected by the positive test. And, for a school that isn't very big anyway, and when you only have 8 guys playing football, or 8 man, there's a little bit more than that, or they're out for the team. But the Mustangs will not play at Choteau this Friday, and Fort Benton next week. Or was that last week? Choteau last week, Fort Benton this week. Those schools and athletic director Jamie Stevens working on rescheduling the games. So they won't play till October 3rd against Cascade. But Friday night we also saw Wolf Point and Malta called off. Football, and then volleyball, Poplar Glasgow was postponed. And Great Falls High Volleyball has canceled its next 2 weeks of games, or postponed, use the correct terminology. There's a lot going on. And we knew this was coming. We knew we were going to see it. And it's unfortunate. We also saw Butte Central and Stevensville. That one is up in the air as of right now. But Central Corvallis was postponed Friday to Saturday and then canceled altogether Saturday when it was determined that some players had direct contact with a positive COVID case at Butte Central. So several football and volleyball players now under a 14-day quarantine at Butte Central, according to Activities Director Chad Peterson. They are still planning on playing Stevensville in football Friday night at Tech, which is interesting because Rocky Mountain College wouldn't allow Billings Central to play on campus. So Billings Central played at Lockwood's new facility, which is beautiful, just like East Helena. And so the first varsity football game played at Lockwood was actually not Lockwood. It was Billings Central. So just some numbers there for the COVID in Montana schools. It's hitting. And you think about over the weekend, we saw, almost 500 new cases reported Saturday and Sunday, or Friday, Saturday. But a lot of that was because, go back a couple of weeks. What happened a couple of weeks ago? Labor Day. Remember? Told you. We were going to see numbers go up. And if that's not enough, we're seeing games being moved around, volleyball, soccer, football, whatever, because referee shortage, which has already been, we've talked about it on the show before, but the referee shortage that's already bad is now even worse because of COVID-19. When you think about a lot of high school officials are older, and that's a tough issue. So, man, people that want to disagree with me on Twitter, that is fine. That's your opinion. You can have it all you want. But we've been saying since March, this is not just about deaths, which are terrible. This is about other long-term effects, both health-wise, and now we're seeing with officials who are concerned about their health. But it's just crazy, man. All right. Our Auto Concepts Performance of the Week is coming up. And some of the nominees that have been sent in, here's a few of mine as well, but Jake Rendina had 4 touchdowns, 5th-ranked Glacier, got a 20-point first quarter lead, held off Butte 33-17. Caden Hewitt, Helena High, is school record-tying 5 touchdown passes, 3 of which went to Dexter Tedesco. And the Bengals beat Big Sky 48-7. Marcus Whitman had 4 touchdowns. Billings Central had a 42-0 win over Hardin. In that game as well, Thomas Hubbard, an interception, returned 97 yards for a score. Jarrett Wilson, 559 yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns. Polson got past Ronan 52-34. Wilson is a sophomore. Listen to some of these numbers this year. 1,409 yards and 13 touchdowns in 4 games. That's awesome. Eureka, big win at Anaconda. Caleb Utter, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing. Florence, big win at Big Fork. Pat Deshane Jr., 322 yards, passing and 4 touchdowns. Tucker Johnstone with 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, 2 of which came on interception returns. And he added a 4th touchdown later. Park City beat Lone Peak 56-30. A couple others. Daniel Kemp, 3 goals and assists. Glacier hammered Butte on the pitch, 7-0. Seth D'Ambrosia had 3 goals and 2 assists. Senior blitzed CMR 7-zip. Back to football real quick. Gallatin Raptors with the first win in school history. They beat Belgrade 20-19. Belgrade's still winless in the AA. Michael Leach, 99 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. Sims beat Chester Joplin Inverness. Mason Detham, 112 yards and 3 touchdowns, also threw for 2 touchdowns. Floyd Lake hammered defending state champ Jordan 76-6. Volleyball, Audrey Hofer, 22 assists. Capital swept past Big Sky. Kaylee Fritz, 33 assists. Glacier beat Butte. Elizabeth Heiser, 27 kills, 6 blocks, and 9 digs. Helena High over Sentinel in 5 sets. And Emily Bird, 29 assists, 10 digs. Townsend swept Red Lodge over the weekend. So just a little bit of your nominations coming up for your Auto Concepts Performance of the Week. Keep yours coming in if you so choose as well. You can email jasonwalkersports@gmail.com. You can also tweet us at jwalkersports. You can Facebook us as well. All right, we're going to come back, and when we do here at Jason Walker Show, we're going to check in with our good buddy Jordy Hansen from the Missoulian. Great stuff from 406mtsports.com. We'll get his weekend recap and some of his nominations maybe as well for Auto Concepts Performance of the Week. Plus, there's some news on FCS football, the Big Sky Conference, and Big Sky basketball. Jordy Hansen fills us in next. Jason Walker Show, presented by Capital Collision Center.
New vehicles keep coming, and Capital Collision Center keeps earning certifications to repair them. They're Helena's newest GM-certified facility. No matter the make or year, they repair your car to manufacturer's standards and requirements, maintaining its safety and value. Montana state law says it's your vehicle and it's your choice where you have it repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center, certified in GM, Subaru, and Nissan, and Helena's only shop certified in Honda, Acura, and Ford. When you value safety, go to Capital Collision Center on Euclid.
Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklaroephotography.com. Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of The Jason Walker Show.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call State Farm agent Mike Miller in Helena today.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Rucker's Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Rucker's, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $299. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Rucker's Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Welcome back to the Jason Walker Show.
Jason Walker Show presented by Capital Collision Center, sitting inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Looking out the window, looks like maybe some smoke starting to come back in. God, I hope not. It was great today without all the smoke. I should have went golfing, but I didn't. It was a little chilly this morning, and I was like, nah, I'm going to stay home and do laundry, because that sounds like a lot of fun. Plus, it makes the wife happy, and happy wife, happy life, right? I mean, that's what they always say. This segment brought to you by Ruckers Furniture. Make the quality choice for your home at Ruckers Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena. And we welcome in our guest on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline every Monday now. He's going to join us, at least through football season. And who knows if we're going to have a basket. Who knows what we'll have in 2 weeks, let alone tomorrow. Jordan Hansen joins us here. He's the Missoulian reporter, 406mtsports.com. How are you? How was your weekend?
Good, man. Good. It's pretty low key. I'm about to start a 5-day vacation to burn some of the vacation time before October. So I was thinking about going down to Beaverhead Deer Lodge to go camping and see what I can see down there. But hopefully the smoke and stuff holds off. If it comes back, we'll probably not. But pretty low key on this over here.
Jordy Hansen joining us here, Jason Walker Show. All right, what stood out this weekend? Because you had the big Hamilton-Dillon matchup. And it wasn't close early. Dillon made it closer, but Hamilton controlled that game.
Yeah, they did, and it was one of those things where, you know, the first drive of the second half, Dillon came out, marched down the field, scored a touchdown, made it 16-14. You know, you start thinking, all right, this is a game, and then Hamilton rattles off 21 straight points to put it out of reach. And I mean, Dillon did have a chance. I mean, it was 4th and 5 at about 45. Right between the third and the fourth quarter, and you know they had the timeout to talk about it, and the wide receiver got jammed, and they threw the right outside linebacker on a nasty little blitz, and both of the defensive ends got good pressure, and that was kind of it. But I mean, if you're a great team, that's a game you just show up to and you win. I mean, and that's what you know Hamilton did, and it was a thing, you know, that they really haven't been, you know, tested and really even played in the fourth quarter yet this year. So that was really big for them. And I mean, elsewhere, I mean, Florence Carlton got a huge win over Big Fork. Big Fork was one of my, like, you know, big teams this year that, you know, I kind of was feeling pretty good about. But Florence Carlton might be the top 2 team in Class E. And I mean, elsewhere in AA, I believe Gallatin got its first win, and you know, West still looking good. Sentinel 135-0 over Capital. I mean, you know, just some kind of by the book stuff. Not a whole lot of surprises. I'm starting to get really high on Glacier. I think that's a great football team up there, and you know, and me and you were just talking a little bit about, you know, how good Flint Creek and how good Thompson Falls has been so far. And,
yep.
You know, setting up for a big one actually next week, because Charlo and Flint Creek will actually play in Charlo. So I believe the Vikings are 4-0 this year, and Flint Creek's undefeated too. So I mean, there's gonna be some good football all the way around this weekend, and you know, and last weekend too. Obviously, just with some great football games. So.
Jordan Hansen joining us. We were talking too before we hit the air about that sophomore at Polson, and you look at that Western A with Columbia Falls, Libby, Polson. They're all 3-1, but Jarrett Wilson is a sophomore for the Pirates. This kid's going to be great for the next couple of years, and he's already having an amazing sophomore year. Over 1,400 yards passing, 13 touchdowns. He had over 550 yards total offense just by himself last week.
It's incredible. And, I mean, you know, he is just the 4th Class A quarterback with multiple 400-yard games in his career, and he is a sophomore. Wow. I mean, like that. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, he's got some good wideouts. Colton Graham is one of his favorites. He had 12 catches for 251 yards and 3 touchdowns against Steve Falls, and I mean, that was a 35-30. Yeah, you know, that was a super close game, and you know, it's just one of those things where you know, it's like, you know, this is a Polson team that's got some weapons, and it's just always fun to see somebody like that just kind of come out of the blue, nothing, you know, it's not really hyped up, and just all of a sudden, you know, explodes onto the scene, and you know, now he's, you know, probably sure I'm sure he's starting to get looks at from colleges and stuff too. It's just, and it's just kind of crazy how that stuff can blow up so quick sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And Polson back in the day had a guy by the name of Craig Bagnall, who was a great quarterback, was recruited by Carroll. He ended up out at Mary, and he's now the head coach, and got Coach Mike Van Diest to come out of retirement to coach out at Mary if they ever get a season going again. So little Polson connection there. Jordan Hansen joining us. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I didn't actually know that. That's super interesting. And I didn't realize that Van Diest had come out of retirement. That's also interesting. I missed that one.
Yeah, and so that came out, was it last spring? And then since there's no Mary football, he's helping out at Helena High right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, you can't take the football out of that dude, man. He's
no.
He's going to be like that. He's, that old guy. He's going to be that 90 years old patrolling the sideline somewhere, some way.
You love to see it. And, I just remember when I was covering tech and stuff, talking with him, and when, Carroll would come to town or vice versa, it was always really great. So I've got a tremendous amount of respect for him, for sure.
No doubt. Well, you got to cover two great coaches in Van Diest and then Chuck Morrell when he was at Tech, but also you were around. Bob Green was always around there, so you got some good ones.
Yeah, I've been really blessed with the coaches, and I think that really, not to get off on another tangent, but I really think that goes to show just how impressive the coaching, the depth is, in Montana. It's not just there's a couple, really, really good coaches. There's a lot of really good coaches throughout the state, different sports, and I think that we're all pretty lucky to have the high level coaching and have the high level people that we definitely have around here.
No doubt about that. 406mtsports.com sports reporter Jordan Hansen joining us. There were some cancellations, and there's still going to be some more cancellations. And we were worried all week, Jordy, that it was going to be because of the smoke. It ended up being the COVID, which you and I have talked about a lot. But that Butte Central Corvallis was canceled, and then we don't know if Butte Central is going to get to play this week at home either because of COVID. But between Butte and Great Falls High and Great Falls Central, there's a lot of issues right now, and I think Malta canceled over the weekend too with a volleyball match or football because of COVID. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the Butte Central one just kind of came like seriously out of the blue because everyone was deciding to play on Friday as the levels of smoke kind of dissipated a little bit, and it was the best air quality we had all week for sure. But we got an email about 1:30, 1:45, just kind of a quick release from Corvallis saying that due to unforeseen, whatever, that there wasn't going to be a game. So I shot an email back to the AD, and it was like, is it smoke related? And I got just two letters. He sent no back. So I called Don Peoples, and he was like, all right, well, let me get a few things together. And then he called me back, and it's like, oh yeah, we got a COVID case. And I don't know how familiar your listeners are with BC, but it's a very small school, like area wise. So it's like, there's so much crossover and stuff that it really doesn't surprise me that, their parts of their volleyball team and football team, are in that, because I'm sure, that there's one case near in a class with that. I mean, it just extends, and it's obviously frustrating for them, but that's a school that's been very much upfront with the things that they're doing and how they're doing this, and so and I think that's what it takes to keep people safe. I mean, you just got to be upfront when something happens like this. Take the whatever precautions that you need to do, and just kind of go from there. And obviously we saw again Great Falls Central, and the Great Falls High volleyball team too is actually under quarantine as well. So it's just one of these things. It's like, okay, we're starting to get a few of these clusters and a few of these schools, and it just makes you wonder, would it almost be a better idea to try to cut down the season a little bit to I mean, that's not going to happen, but just trying to think, can we get these playoffs, can we get these state championships into these kids? Is shortening the season or something like that going to be a better option? And again, I don't think that'll happen, but it's just one of those things that to finish these out, we might need to get a little creative with how we're doing things. So just some free thoughts from me, I guess.
Well, I brought up I earlier today I talked to Great Falls Central coach Wes Ross, asked him to come on the show, and he said not yet. Not everything is not everything is known right now up there. And but there's 8 students, mostly from the football team, that are affected. Great Falls Central. That's a small school. You talk about how small Butte Central is. I mean, they should be playing 8-man football or 6-man football. They're so small, but they get to stay in Class A. But this is also a tough blow for the Butte Central anyway, too, because this is the second time, and it's COVID related. This is a direct COVID case, but they lost their first game of the year against Hamilton because they hadn't had enough practices. So it's really affecting the Butte Central community as well.
Yeah, no, and I sports means so much to that community and so much to that school in particular. I mean, obviously at Butte High as well. Not gonna say anything other than that. But it's just and the other thing again with them already having to get have to forfeit one game. I mean, that they probably weren't going to make the playoffs this year, but that makes it just hard, that much harder. And Corvallis is a team that Butte Central probably would have matched up pretty well against, and Stevensville this next week is another team that they would have matched up pretty well against. And opening your season with Hamilton and Frenchtown like they did, I mean those are 2 very tough teams. So it's like it's one of those things. The kids are missing out on opportunities to have competitive, good football games too, which I think is another really tough pill to swallow for them. But that they are doing what they think and what they need to be doing, I guess. So
Jordan Hansen, our guest here, Mike Miller, State Farm Hotline. Speaking of masks and COVID related issues, you took a picture Friday night and just said social distancing ? Got ripped on that one. And then you tweeted something, was it yesterday, about Callahan O'Reilly of Montana State? Does anybody get ripped on Twitter more than you? Or I mean, I'm up there, but I'm not sure if there's anybody else in the state that gets ripped on like you do.
Yeah, well, I maybe had that coming. So.
Well, maybe the Callahan O'Reilly stuff, maybe. But man, that social distancing, it was not social distancing. There was not anybody sitting apart from each other that Friday night.
No, and one other thing that I should have put in there is that for the most part the folks were wearing masks and stuff. So I mean, at least they were doing that part of it. So I don't know, because I mean there's 1,000 other things that are going on that have big crowds too, and it's just anymore is it a good battle to even try to pick? Is it a good thing to even try to
right?
I mean, like, is it worth it? Like,
right. No, I get you. I get you. There's times, like, pick your battles, and Friday was probably a good time to wear a mask because all the smoke that was around the state.
Yeah, and I saw a funny tweet a while ago about it was California. It's like, it was some picture of the really crazy orange letter, or the orange skies, and it was like going back. It's like, somebody from a year ago would have been like, oh yeah, we're not wearing these masks because of smoke. We're wearing these masks because of this other thing. And I just laugh because it's like some of the absurdity of this is quite the thing. So,
Yeah. Jordan Hansen joining us, Jason Walker Show, on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline. All right, let's talk about our polls real quick. We both vote in the Treasure State Media poll, and Anthony Knockreiner up in the Flathead does a very nice job putting this together for us. This is the second year. Let's start in the Double-A, and I will give you my top 5 first, and then you can rip it apart. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, number 1, Sentinel. Number 2, Helena.
Yep.
Number 3, West. 4, Glacier. 5, Senior. And I probably should put Glacier as 3, but I already sent it in. So Sentinel, Helena, West, Glacier, Senior.
Yeah, those are the same 5 teams that I have in mind. A little bit different order. I've got Sentinel, West, Glacier, Helena, Senior. Helena's gonna be one of those teams I think is gonna move up. Speaking of quarterbacks, their young kid is doing some crazy things, and I believe that he tied a school record for most touchdown passes in a game. So that's a good football team. I've just been high on Glacier this entire time. I really think that's a team that's gonna at the end of the season is gonna contend. And West obviously I don't think that they've played a huge game yet, and I think that next week they might be somewhere. I'd have to check that one really quick, but it's just, I really do think that that's a team that, we kind of were like, well, they kind of lost some stuff last year, but, they've been really good. And I guess they play Glatton next week. So, I mean, they've kind of got I won't say soft, but, a favorable schedule, kind of going through here. So, I mean, that definitely is part of it. So it'll be interesting to see, how that goes. And, I don't remember which week West and Bozeman played, but that'll be a good football game as well. So,
well, and Bozeman bounced back. That was a nice bounce back win they had last weekend too, after losing opening game of the year.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's one they absolutely needed to get. And I still do think that that's a good football team. And maybe we're all being a little bit mean in the polls as far as just dropping them out. But I'm sure that they'll just use that as motivation and things along those lines. So,
sure.
But
and I'm gonna as a Bozeman native, I'm gonna help you out here. All right, Gallatin High.
Gallatin.
Yeah.
Not Gallatin.
Not Gallatin. No, it's not Battlestar Galactica. It's Gallatin, named after Albert Gallatin, who was the Secretary of the Treasury when Lewis and Clark Expedition came through in the 1800s.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Well, I'm just trying to help you out, my friend.
No, I appreciate it.
So we have the same top 5 in AA. How about Class A? You go first this time.
Sure. I've got Hamilton, then Miles City, Laurel, Billings Central, and Columbia Falls. And honestly, that fifth spot is, kind of a revolving, door right now. I mean, Libby lost, so I kind of dropped them out, and Sioux Falls did win, so I pushed them back up. And Billings Central is a team that, I think that just, by virtue of them not having a couple, early games, I think that people maybe weren't, seeing them as well, but they've come out well, and, they've played well the first couple weeks here. So, and then Laurel and Miles City are always two good football programs. And again, Hamilton at number 1 until someone knocks them off that pedestal. But I really do think a Hamilton-Miles City football game in the playoffs, we've seen it before, and we'll see it again. And it'll be interesting to see, because, the last couple of years, Miles City has taken advantage of some defensive lapses on Hamilton's side, and that's, how they've won those games. A couple, clutch turnovers here and there as well. So, that's pretty far in the future, but I mean, that's a game, whenever it happens, assuming it does, will be definitely circled on my calendar to
absolutely
see. So.
All right, my Class A, I've got Miles City number 1 because, like you said, until they're beaten, they're number 1 team. Hamilton number 2. I got Sioux Falls 3, and then I go tie for 4 with Libby and Dillon. I know Dillon lost, but they're going to rebound. And I just like the Libby. They were close with Sioux Falls. And then I have Laurel in 6th. So I actually have 6. I mean, and again, you could throw Billings Central in there like you mentioned. You could throw a Polson in there at 3-1. But I think really the top 3, or maybe the top 2 are for sure, Hamilton, Miles City. But then you can, 3 to 5, you can go literally anybody.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's kind of been, par for the course as far as, Class A goes for the last couple of years. I mean, especially with, kind of how small overall, the number of Class A schools there. I mean, obviously there's more, or there's less AA schools, but just like and kind of the almost imbalance between the West and the East too is kind of interesting to look at as well. But and I really do think, the West is a pretty solid group of football teams this year. So and I agree. I mean, Dillon was in that game for 3 1/4 quarters. I mean, it wasn't like they were getting, whipped out of the game or whatever. I mean, if Jace Fitzgerald, completes a couple more passes, I mean, that's a very different game. And, and that's like kind of what I was mentioning earlier is that, Hamilton did a good job in their coverage packages and, switched it up with, man-to-man and then a little bit of, sagging off with their CBs and stuff. And, they got good safety play. So, I mean, those are, little things in a game that, can go one way or the other. And, I mean, that's why I definitely wouldn't drop Dillon any further than 6 or anything like that. So I'm right there with you on that one.
Class B, Fairfield number 1. I go Manhattan 2, Glasgow 3, Red Lodge, then Malta.
That's pretty close to mine. I still have Manhattan at the top, and then I've got Florence, then Fairfield. And I mean, you might be right on that one. Fairfield at number 1. I mean, they are just good. And but again, I was really impressed with Florence as well. I mean, that's a team that can really pass the ball and move the ball down the field, and another one of those teams that, maybe we weren't necessarily expecting to be as good as they have been, so far. And then I guess for me to round it out, I think I said this, but I rounded out Glasgow and Malta. Malta did have that football game canceled last week, but they are still undefeated.
Yep.
And I do believe that that's a good football team as well, and Glasgow too. I really do think that's a strong football team, up there. So, and it's kind of similar as far as those 3 to 5 spots, can really be a bunch of different teams, right now. And it's kind of hard,
for sure,
again, without the non-conference to really see, or as many of the non-conference teams to really see, where these, different, districts and where these different conferences are, kind of in relation to each other.
Well, and you look at like just the Southern B with Jefferson and Townsend, both 2-0 in conference play. Jefferson lost close to I can't remember first game of the year. Oh, at Whitehall, and then Townsend loses to Big Fork, but hammers Eureka, or vice versa. No, they beat Eureka last week. So
yeah, they did.
You've got those non-conference win is huge for the Bulldogs, but then you got Manhattan sitting 3-0, and it's tough to rank Jefferson or Townsend when you've got Manhattan as the lone unbeaten in the South. So I mean, you look at the top to bottom in the Class B, it's just it's top heavy in each division, and then the bottom cellar dwellers are on the bottom for a reason. But you feel bad for them. That's why they're on the bottom. All right, let's move to 8-man. You go first.
Sure. Fort Benton, my Fort Benton Longhorns. Thompson Falls, Flint Creek, Fairview, and then Belt. I do know that Belt got beat, this week by Fort Benton, but I mean, there are probably a couple of different teams you could put, in that 5 hole, but I do believe that Belt's a good football team. I just think Fort Benton's that good. I really do, and that's a talented football team. But I mean, Thompson Falls is right up there too. I mean, they absolutely hammered Darby 56-0. They've hammered every single team that they played this year. And that is an excellent football team. Up there on the highway, and again, like Flint Creek, like we were saying, is quite good. And Charlotte, I think it's going to be a game that I'm at this week. Flint Creek travels to Charlotte to play that game, so that should be a good one. And yeah, and Fairview is just another one of those teams that just manages to overload every year.
Yep. Here's my 5. Westby Grenora, they're 4-0 and 8-man after moving up from 6. Fort Benton, number 2. Fairview, 3. I go Thompson Falls and Charlotte, and I probably should have Flint Creek in there. But again, it's a tough top 5 this week because everybody that is ranked is really good right now.
Mm-hmm. And Westby Grenora is a really good one to put in there that kind of slipped my mind today. That's another good football team.
They won state a couple of years ago in 6-man. They move up to 8-man, and they pick up where they left off. It's crazy. 6-man, I'll go first. I've got Big Sandy, number 1, Richie Lambert, Floyd Lake, Shields Valley, and then Hot Springs.
Yep, I have the same 5 teams, a little bit different order. Big Sandy, Hot Springs, Shields Valley, Floyd, and then Richie Lambert.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, and those are some teams that have really, again, just hammered their opponents this year. I mean, feels like Big Sandy's been at the top of the poll for the last 8 years in a row. But in the Hot Springs team that I believe that they had a game canceled at some point, or that they weren't able to find a date with the team, and that's a good football team. I mean, they brought back a lot of their skill players last year. They're breaking in a new quarterback. They've got a couple kids that can really do a lot of big things with the ball. And I mean, Floyd Lake, we're talking about that. They beat Jordan 76-6, on Saturday. I mean, I know that's a Jordan team that definitely lost some talent from the previous couple of years, but I mean, still, that's a big old win, for them. So.
Well, and let's, Broadview Lavina, it's a team that's often overlooked. My dad was the superintendent at Lavina until this last year. So he's, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit for building this football team up, but they're 3-0. They're not in the poll. But again, they haven't had the experience and the success the last few years for me yet to put them in the top 5. And then you look at Power, Dutton, Brady, Sunburst, both undefeated. Can't rank them yet. And then the best one-loss teams, you throw in Geraldine Highwood, which hammered my dad's new school at Winnett Grass Range. Harlowton, Rygate 3-1 as well, and Denton, Geyser, Stanford. These are all great teams in the Central. And Roy Winifred sitting there at 2-1. Hobson Moore, Judith Gap is 2-1 in conference play. That Central is as good as any division in the six-man right now. You have the top great teams in the East, the North, and the South, and in the West. But that Central top to bottom, I think, is the most balanced. And I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, I think you are, and it's just one of those things where I don't think we talk about six-man football enough, you know, as a media, well, at least for us.
Right.
You know, so so that's always good to get a little bit of context, you know, with some of those tools and with some of those things. So, but yeah, you know, I think there's like we're saying, there's a lot of good teams. You know, in a lot of different places, and it's going to be so crazy. You know, those last couple of weeks of the season, everyone's trying to jockey for, you know, potential playoff position and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
You can check out our voting tomorrow on the Twitter and everybody else's top five at the Treasure State Media Poll on Twitter. MT Score hashtag MT Scores. Anthony Knockreiner putting it together. All right, Jordan Hansen, I got to ask you, there was some news that came out in the Big Sky Conference. Tom Wischersill, the Big Sky commissioner, said, we're playing in the spring. All these divisions, now it looks like the Pac-12 is going to start back up in October, but FCS looks like, or at least the Big Sky, is staying in the spring. I know you talked to Kent Haslam a little bit. What do you have to say?
You know, he was just pretty happy with, you know, how things, you know, kind of played out. You know, he's on the FCS playoff committee, and he's also the president of the FCS Athletic Directors Association. So he's definitely in the know on a lot of these things. And I mean, really, the biggest thing, you know, for FCS teams is that, you know, the playoffs are going to be dropped from 24 to 16 teams for this year. There's a September 21st date, you know, start date for on-field practice, and the FCS championships will run April 18th to May 15th. So, you know, and this is kind of a lot what we expected. FCS is kind of in a little bit different, you know, area than a lot of other teams or in a lot of other programs, simply because, you know, there's about 15 schools that, you know, are playing, you know, some games, you know, right now. And that kind of changes, you know, basically how the practices go and stuff like that. So basically you can kind of start your preseason or regular season whenever you want to really start scheduling games. You know, they've really, you know, let it be kind of open for these teams to be able to, you know, kind of start. And, you know, and the schools that, you know, are having fall ball, you know, can't have preseason practice or competition before January 1st. So, you know, they're trying to get a little bit of room for some of these schools. But again, a lot of these FCS schools that are playing right now aren't playing, you know, a full schedule. Obviously, they're playing, you know, 2, 3, 4 games. I think at the max. So it like I said, it just gives, you know, some leeway and some, you know, guidelines as far as those things. But the biggest thing really, and this was for the coaches and kind of across the board, is that now we have some dates. Now we can start to build, you know, this framework of a season and things like that. Because, you know, for the last, you know, 6 months, there just really hasn't been, you know, any guidance. You know, we've kind of kicked the can, I guess, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You know, in some ways just because you had to. But, you know, now that there's kind of some dates and stuff set, you know, you can start getting those, you know, and for basketball, you know, on that end, you know, you can start, you know, putting together your non-conference schedule. And for football, you can start, you know, the Big Sky can put together their regular season schedule and stuff like that. So you can start to mix and match things, and it just gives coaches, student athletes, and, you know, everyone else is kind of a breath, like, okay, like, you know, this is where we're at.
It's interesting because basketball, NCAA, I think they're going to start November 29th or whatever, so that right around Thanksgiving. But that gives the Cats, the Grizz, and the rest of the Big Sky a chance to get going. We still don't know about the NAIA yet, but because they'll follow suit, whatever the NCAA does. But when you talk to Kent Haslam, and you know, it made it appear like Tom Wischersill said today, and Portland State Activities Director, Athletics Director came out and said, what's her name, Valerie Cleary said today too, that they're set on the spring, and there's no way that they're going to attempt to come back before then.
Is that basically the sense that Haslam gave you too?
Yeah, and I just think it was a thing that there just wasn't enough time for the FCS to really put together what they would want if they were going to try to do fall ball, and so since they kind of already had that decision pretty firmly made, and the fact that the FCS as a whole was pretty cohesive about doing that, it kind of just makes it kind of unreasonable, I guess, for a team to, for a school to start. And that's my biggest, question for the Big Ten and the Pac-12 is, are they giving themselves enough time to potentially, get through this? Because I think one big thing, and we saw this after the lockout in the NFL a couple of years ago, is that there's a lot of soft tissue injuries after that layoff, and I think that's the thing that we might see, and that's where an SEC or a Big 12 that's kind of been in full contact and kind of been kind of preparing for a season as normal might be a little bit better advantage as far as injuries go and stuff as well.
Well,
so,
look at the NFL yesterday.
Right. Yeah. I mean, half the NFL gets injured with knee or leg injuries yesterday. I mean, that was wild. I could not believe that when I saw that and just saw all the players that that had happened to. And so yeah, and so yeah, I guess that's kind of where they were at. They're comfortable. It'll be interesting in the spring because it'll probably be the only football going in the spring, unless the MAC decides it's not gonna come back. So you're gonna have some eyes on your league, and I almost think that might be a good thing. And I know that obviously their spring football for the FCS probably isn't gonna stick, but I know that was definitely, like when that first came about, that was definitely like a, hey, this might be an interesting idea to play around with. So I think I think it'll be actually kind of a good thing for the FCS, because we'll give them, like I said, some more time to kind of adjust, and I think that we could see maybe a little bit of a boom as far as people getting their eyes on the FCS. So I mean that's just me trying to spin that in a way that kind of makes sense to me. But at end of the day, I think it kind of came down to testing and money, stuff like that. And I think a lot of these FCS schools are already towing the line for a lot of different kinds of things. So adding that the rapid antigen test or what have you, however they would go about doing that, just wasn't gonna quite be a thing that was gonna work out.
Hey, keep this in mind for next week. I want to talk to you about the playoff situation, because dropping 24-16, you lose 8 teams. That's potential of 2 Big Sky teams probably now not making it, unless they're all 4 in the top. Unless you got 4 in the top 10, which is right now the preseason. But let's talk about that next week. Here's an interesting thing to think about with the Big Sky and how cold it is in Montana in February and March. I'm hearing, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow, but I'm hearing that the Frontier Conference is going to start in February, and their first couple weeks they're going to look at playing at Pocatello and Moscow, and sending 4 teams to Pocatello and 4 teams to Moscow, playing on like a Thursday, Friday in the domes so that they can get games in. And their hope is that by the middle or end of March, it's nice in Montana enough to come back and play football here.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Bubble ball in the NAI in the Frontier. That would be truly incredible. I think that would definitely make some waves, in a lot of different places. I hadn't actually heard that, but I quite like that. I quite like that idea.
Well, I know they have to clear it with University of Idaho, obviously, and then Idaho State. But think about that. If you got a Thursday or Friday games in Pocatello, you get a College of Idaho taking on Carroll, and then on a Friday, and then the next week Idaho State, Montana, or Montana State. I mean, that's a doubleheader weekend that's worth going. Plus, you're going to have another NAIA game in there.
Right. There's a lot to be said that. And I really think that if the NAIA really wants to get in this, and the Frontier really wants to get in this, they need to make a ability to stream these games just a little bit better. And I think that they would. I think between that and and just trying to work through some TV stuff, I think that they could see a boom, and a boom in their conference as well. So I think there's some room for some creativity as far as how we're going to do these things. And I think it's an opportunity to to make things a little bit different, a little bit fun, and maybe market them a little bit differently. And I think that could eventually be a solid thing for a lot of these different schools.
Well, let's just say the Big Sky doesn't play, and take Jeff Choate's approach that the Big Sky is not going to play in the spring, and just hope for a great fall season next year. Put the NAI games on Pluto. Put them on SWX. Put them on all the where the Big Sky is in the spring, or even you could still do it even with Big Sky games, because if the Frontier was to play Thursday or Friday or both, and then you got the Big Sky games on Saturday, you send an SWX crew or the Big Sky TV crews down to do an NAI game. That's big time.
Yeah,
Root Sports. Put them on Root Sports. Come on, you and I could go do the games.
I know, and like people would watch it.
Absolutely, they would.
And people don't realize how fun NAIA football is. I mean, it is fun to watch.
Yep.
There's some crazy things that happen. It's high level football, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm really hoping that something good can come out of all of it.
Well, I hope to have more for you next Monday when we chat. But hey, have a great weekend. Enjoy the couple of days off, and have fun. You're heading to Charlotte Friday night, right?
I think so. Yep.
Okay.
I think that's what I'm looking at.
Well, have fun at Charlotte. Stay safe. Stay out of the smoke, and try not to piss anybody off on Twitter this week.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, Jordy. Talk to you later.
Yep, later on, Jason.
That is Jordan Henson from 406mtsports.com joining us. Jason Walker Show. Quick break, coming right back. More on the Frontier, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow too, but more on the Frontier, possibly playing games in domes in the spring. We'll talk about it next.
New vehicles keep coming, and Capital Collision Center keeps earning certifications to repair them. They're Helena's newest GM-certified facility. No matter the make or year, they repair your car to manufacturer's standards and requirements, maintaining its safety and value. Montana state law says it's your vehicle and it's your choice where you have it repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center, certified in GM, Subaru, and Nissan, and Helena's only shop certified in Honda, Acura, and Ford. When you value safety, go to Capital Collision Center on Euclid.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Ruckers Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Ruckers, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $289. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Ruckers Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklaroephotography.com.
This segment brought to you by Mark LaRoe Photography. Check them out, marklaroephotography.com. Book your senior or family portrait package. Mention the show, Jason Walker Show, and get a free 8x10 canvas from Matt Print. Also, if you purchase anything, mention Jason Walker Show, you get 20% off. So, there you go. Big thanks to Jordy Hansen joining us. You can follow him at Jordy Hansen on the Twitter. And we were talking about some of the COVID social media posts, and Lee Vernoy from the Great Falls Tribune also was talking on Twitter about how as reporters, you're out there at these games, and it scares him a little bit too. And he, like Lee said, 12 Bison football players are under quarantine. The Bison volleyball team has suspended its next 2 weeks of practices and games. CMR football has 3 kids out for having close contact, and now Great Falls Central losing 2 games because of COVID. And it's tough. It's tough, and we talked about it. Nobody wants this to happen. We all want these kids to go on and have great seasons, but, man. Speaking of having great seasons, so we talked about it a little bit with Jordy Hansen. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow more, too. But the Frontier Conference, I'm told, has their working on schedule like 9.0 for the upcoming football season. And they're going to play 7 games. 8 teams will play 7 games. That's it. No non-conference against the same opponent type stuff. And again, this is just what I'm being told from my source. But, and I asked, I said, so first games would be around February 27th or something like that. That weekend, I don't even know what week that would, or what day that is. January, so it'd be, February 27th, that Saturday. So you'd start practice in January. Well, you don't have to deal with the cold here in Montana. But how would you play games? Because February, traditionally, the coldest month of the year in the state of Montana. Plus you get, just the wind chills. I know it was cold back on that quarterfinal game in December of 2014 when Carroll played SOU. We get November, December, January cold, but not like February. When those winds come in, it's always calving season when it gets the coldest in Montana. But if you're just tuning in, this is what I was told is going to happen in the Frontier Conference, at least through the first couple of weeks. They'll take 4 teams on Thursday or Friday and send them to Pocatello, and 4 teams would go to Moscow, Idaho. Why? Got the Kibbe Dome and Holt Arena, the domes. So you'd play double headers. You play 2 games. 4 teams would play 2 games. But you'd have a doubleheader on Thursday or Friday, and then you go home, and then you go back the next week. So like College of Idaho would play Carroll, Tech plays, SOU, and then in one place, and then Eastern Oregon is playing Northern, and Western plays Rocky in Moscow or wherever. It's actually not a bad idea. And I like what we were talking about with Jordy Hansen. If there's no Big Sky games, or even if there are, put these games on Root Sports. Put these games on SWX. Bring in hell, I'd go do it. It's not like I don't know the Frontier. I don't even have to do Carroll games. That's fine. I know the other 7 teams. Anyway, I'd volunteer for that. Of course, I'd have to get paid, but I'd volunteer for it. But anyway, I kind of like it. Fan situation, I don't care right now. Who knows? And I don't care right now about if fans could go or not. Doesn't bother me one bit right now. We wouldn't even have to go to the games as announcers. We could just do like they're doing now. And I could broadcast the game from my home. Just set up a video feed. That's all you need. But how cool would that be if the Frontier had that exposure? No other NAIA conference would have it. But think about that. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. I want to dive into it. I want your thoughts. You can let me know at JWalkerSports on the Twitter. You can Facebook us. You can email JasonWalkerSports@gmail.com. Let me know. Is that a good idea for the Frontier? And we'll talk about it tomorrow. Auto Contest Performance of the Week. Let's do it. All right. So we gave some unbelievable nominations. You look at some of the ones. Jake Rendina of Glacier, 4 touchdowns. Marcus Whitman, 4 touchdowns for Billings Central. Jarrett Wilson, a sophomore at Polson, rolling up 559 yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns. He's thrown for 1,409 and 13 touchdowns in 4 games. Eureka with Caleb Utter, big win, 3 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing TDs. Florence, Pat Deshane, the quarterback junior, Pat Deshane Jr., rather, threw for 322 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tucker Johnson with 2 interception returns for scores for Park City.
Gallatin Raptors getting their first win in team history. Audrey Hofer, 22 assists. Capital with another win. Kaylee Fritz, 33 assists for Glacier in a win. Elizabeth Heiser, 27 kills, 6 blocks for Helena High in a win over Sentinel. 29 assists, 10 digs for Emily Bird for Townsend. And just some unbelievable performances. And as always, you can always send in yours, email, tweet, Facebook as well, like some of these came in. But I'm going to give our Auto Concepts Performance of the Week. Caden Hewitt from Helena High. A school record-tying 5 touchdown passes, 3 of which to Dexter Tedesco in Helena High's big win over Big Sky. So Caden Hewitt is our Auto Concepts Performance of the Week this week. All right, on this day in history, September the 21st, it is National Pecan Cookie Day. It is also National New York Day. 1934, St. Louis Cardinals pitching Dean brothers shut out the Brooklyn Dodgers in a doubleheader. Dizzy Dean, a 13-0 win. Paul Dean, a 3-0 no-hitter. 1955, in his very last fight, undefeated world heavyweight boxing champ Rocky Marciano knocked out light heavyweight Archie Moore in the 9th round. 1970, Vida Blue of Oakland had a no-hitter. Monday Night Football premiered on this date on ABC. Howard Cosell, Keith Jackson, 1970, 50 years ago today. The Browns, by the way, beat the Jets 31-21. Those are 2 terrible teams now. 1985, Michael Spinks knocked out Larry Holmes, or rather beat him in 15 to win the boxing championship heavyweight. 1986, San Diego Padre Jimmy Jones pitched a one-hitter in his major league debut. Jimmy Jones did nothing for the next 7 years, toiled around the league with 3 or 4 different teams. 1945, happy birthday, Richard Childress, NASCAR team owner. I believe he has a huge house in the Paradise Valley. Between Livingston, between Immigrant and Gardner. But it's his birthday today. 1967, Faith Hill was born. If anybody can tell me, well, you would cheat. So, all right. First person to Facebook it on whether the Jason Walker Show page, if you Facebook Faith Hill's real name, but she was born on this date, 1967. Happy birthday to Larry Hagman, born on this date, 1931. JR on Dallas. And Bill Murray is celebrating a birthday today, too. He is 70 today. Unbelievable. You can also tweet me. First person to tweet on Facebook and on Twitter, at JWalkerSports. So that one each gets a Cafe Zydeco gift card.
We're almost at the end of the show. What did we learn? And what did he miss? Time for the walk-off.
What is the walk-off is brought to you by Cafe Zydeco. Stop by. We had dinner there Friday night. Got the catfish basket. So good. With the swamp aioli sauce. Amazing. The wife had the barbecue shrimp po' boy. But the catfish basket, definitely a go-to at Cafe Zydeco. Helena, Bozeman, and Billings. What is Faith Hill's real name? First one to answer on Jason Walker Facebook and at JWalkerSports on the Twitter, you get a Cafe Zydeco gift card. Okay? All right. Thanks to Jordan Hansen joining us. Great weekend in sports. We recapped it. If you missed it, you can go to JasonWalkerShow.com. Tomorrow, a very inspirational story from University of Wyoming cowgirl. Brandy Shank will join us tomorrow here on the Jason Walker Show. Her coach is Bo Clark. Great athlete in the Gallatin Valley for a long time. And on the rodeo circuit. Football, rodeo, everything. So Brandy Shank will join us tomorrow. You can watch JasonWalkerShow.com anytime. Facebook, tweet us, and a bunch more. Hope you had a great day. Have a good Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock, Jason Walker Show.
The Jason Walker Show is produced by the Jason Walker Media Company. Any reuse, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the Jason Walker Show is strictly prohibited. Just listen, watch, and enjoy.